You're a cantaloupe.
5 long years he wore this watch up his ass.
These are my cactuses. I put googly eyes on them.
Sometimes when I'm driving, I have this sudden impulse to turn the wheel quickly, head on into the oncoming car.
Peter Pan has found a mother.
You want me to say what? Like, I don't get it. Is that it?
The ice is gonna break!
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Walk-In 101, the podcast where we watch every single walk-in project in chronological order. That could be movie, television show, play, whatever we can get our hands on. Today, we watched the Anderson tapes. I am Kenny Johnson, director, documentary, filmmaker, editor, jack of all trades.
And I'm Brandon Hardesty, strong, independent black woman.
That's a good one.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like how we always keep up with the theme of 3 things that we are.
Yeah.
I have to come up with something new next time. I think I did 4 today, but whatever.
That's okay.
All right, so the Anderson tapes. Yes, we watched that one, directed by Sidney Lumet. And what year was it? 71, I think.
1971.
But before we get into that, let's just have a quick little checkup and see how our lives have been since the last recording. So, anything new with you, Brandon? What's going on?
What's going on? Really not much. Just working a lot. I've been trying to get a lot of the short IMDb videos done ahead of time because I'm taking like a week off later in the month.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Tennessee to meet with a friend of mine. We're going to try and write a pilot for like a television series.
Oh, cool.
So it'll be our 3rd time writing something together. And,
Right.
I don't
That's
know.
a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, never done it before for like a TV pilot. So
Is it the Haunted Hathaways?
yeah, we're remaking the Haunted Hathaways canceled Nickelodeon show about a living family living with a ghost family. I think there are a lot more things that the show didn't really explore. So we're really
That sounds great.
trying to leap off with that. What's up with you?
I've been working on a bunch of little shorts here and there. I had a crazy idea last night. I wanted to make a short documentary on a magician.
Okay.
Street performer, street magician. I don't know. I've always been really fascinated by that. I'm a very big fan of Harry Houdini.
Okay.
So it's something to be kind of cool. Magic. The other thing I'm working on, I work kind of for this one small wrestling company called Evolve, and what I do is I go in, I make short documentaries on certain wrestlers or certain events, and it's fun because wrestling, it's all about this exaggerated truth in the world, all right? So these wrestlers play almost exaggerated versions of themselves, and the way that I'm doing these documentaries is it's like kind of quasi-real, but still like following to the wrestling world. We call it, kayfabe. You want to keep it kayfabe, pretending as if everything that's happening in the wrestling world is real.
Kayfabe?
Kayfabe. It's just an old carny term, that they use. Okay, so we're keeping everything kayfabe. So it's like it's as if wrestling was real. Okay, the storylines, the characters are real, and almost like these documentaries are presented in that way. So when I talk to the wrestlers, it's almost like they're in character.
Yeah,
it's a fun experience because as a documentary filmmaker, they're like, okay, we're gonna be doing this show in this Spanish nightclub that's closed right now. There's nowhere to film.
Yeah.
But you have to be really creative. You got to find these really creative areas, and it really helps me think of new ways to film things and how to approach things. And it's thinking on my toes, and it's got to be a quick turnaround. So it's really helping me a lot.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, I've been able to find spaces to do interviews in and produce some really cool stuff. So yeah, I'm getting ready to do something this weekend for them, and that's about it. Magic.
Cool.
And wrestling.
Magic and wrestling. Doesn't get better than that.
All right, so the Anderson tapes.
Yep.
1971, I believe, directed by Sidney Lumet, who, if anyone knows, he directed films for close to 50 years, I think.
Yep. 12 Angry Men.
Yep. Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. These real kind of like gritty dramas. It's always these character studies, I would say.
Yeah.
And
Find Me Guilty.
Yes, a lot. Find Me Guilty. I don't even know which one that is.
That was the one. Oh, wait, that was the one with. Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. Vin Diesel.
Really?
Yeah, it was the second to last thing he directed. The only thing I remember about Find Me Guilty was there was somebody put together.
Oh, yeah, he had the really bad wig, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he have, okay. Oh,
And there was
man.
someone put a YouTube compilation of every talk show that Vin Diesel went on to promote, Find Me Guilty, and he just said the exact same thing about, I read this book called On Acting by so-and-so, and it was like word for word, so he was just really excited about acting and working with Sidney Lumet.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, Lumet he was definitely what people would call an actor's director.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he came from Broadway. His parents were either in acting or something like that, or he had a little bit of a background in acting. So you can really tell in the movies that he's done, like, you know, the shots are long. They give the actors a lot of time to kind of play in the scene and actually act in the scene. You know, He's not letting editing kind of dictate it. And this movie was no different. I wouldn't even. Is it a lost gem? Would you consider this a lost gem?
I don't know if it's a. You know, it was entertaining. I watched it. I liked it. It's a caper.
Caper, right? It's not a heist film. It's a caper film.
It's a caper
film. They kept putting emphasis on caper.
Yeah, heist didn't enter into the lexicon maybe until later. This was definitely a caper.
So, all right, I guess the synopsis of the film. What is it?
I would say it's so Sean Connery is the star of it, and this is right after I read online, according to Wikipedia, that this role helped him break out of like the James Bond roles, and he played. A convict that had been in prison for about 10 years, is a convicted safecracker, and he gets out, decides he wants to go for the big job, you know, so he assembles his crew together for one last big payoff, and part of the crew, among other people, is Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken gets out of prison, I believe, with him, almost the same day.
Walken's character is the kid.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. There's no first and last name, and which led us to believe that he was only going to be in this for like 2 minutes, but he was in the whole movie. He was part of what you would say is the crew of the heist.
Yep. He was a kid, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, you know,
beautiful Aryan race man.
He pretty much was in the opening scene, and he was in the movie throughout.
Yep.
Still, once again, a very small role, and I believe in the credits it was introducing Christopher Walken.
Yep. It's officially they put this in the beginning. After all of the other cast members were put up on the screen, it said introducing Christopher Walken. So this is. Even though we watched that movie, Me and My Brother, very, very art house documentary hybrid movie, this, I guess, is on record as his official first feature film.
Yeah. We don't count Me and My Brother.
Okay.
Apparently.
I need you to bridge some burglar alarms, open doors, cut some telephone circuits. Oh, you can do that.
What, so some son of a bitch can come steal me blind? They rip off everything in here.
So you claim burglary insurance.
I don't know, man. I was in for dope, see? I don't know how I feel about stealing. Some guys, you gotta put them right out of business, you rip off this stuff. Hold on.
The movie it's a caper.
And a big focus of it is on recording.
Surveillance.
Yes.
This was 1971, so there's still the air of J. Edgar Hoover in the background. Nixon always recording things, the FBI. And I believe Connery, he's getting ready to do this one last caper, and he's going to all these various different people to either, I think he meets up with his girlfriend, who is a prostitute. She is being recorded by a private detective.
Yeah.
He goes to the mob, and they're, of course, being recorded by, I believe, the FBI. And then he goes to another person who's a part of the crew, who is being recorded for, I can't remember by who, but it's something to do with smuggling of antiques or something like that.
Yeah.
And then finally this last guy who may have a connection with the Black Panthers, he's being recorded by, I believe, the FBI as well. So Anderson is going to all these different people, and they're all being recorded or surveyed in some way.
Yeah. Just coincidentally.
Coincidentally, he's on all these tapes. That's where it becomes the Anderson tapes, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of characters in this movie, a lot of little characters throughout, a lot of little roles, and they all had these like little interesting moments where they got to shine.
Absolutely.
They had these little one-liners, these one little things. They're just in it for a small glimpse. Like, for example, I believe Garrett Morris is one of the cast members from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, one of the
first black, maybe. But he plays a police officer, and he's being bossed around by his icy ball crushing superior. He's like, all right, Garrett Morris, you're gonna have to go scale this building, okay?
Yeah.
And then like Morris is like, man, why do I gotta do this crap? And like,
he gets his little moment.
Right, he gets a little moment where he's like riding his bike, or he's riding the bike by, and he looks up at one building. He's like, shit. He looks up, then he's got to go to another one. It's like, come on. So it's like, and then there's an old lady that's getting robbed. She's got these little one-liners, all these little things, right?
Yeah.
But Walken.
Yeah, I mean, like if we're going to talk about his character,
right?
Now, an interesting fact. I looked up a couple things about Walken. There were only two things I could find about him mentioning this movie.
Mm-hmm.
First thing he says was, this was in a 1986 article. I found it on donshui.com.
Mm-hmm.
My first movie. I should do a Walken voice when I read it, like
yes.
a bad Walken impression.
Do it.
My first movie was the Anderson Tapes, the Sidney Lumet movie. I played the kid. I was already pushing 28. By that time, people were already saying, how come you never made a movie? I had gone up on commercials when I was perfectly willing to do. But it was like going for jury duty and never getting picked for a jury.
Interesting.
So there was that. And then also, this was from a Rolling Stone article recently, May of this year, talking about, they asked him about his first movie, The Anderson Tapes. He goes, when I did The Anderson Tapes, I never made another movie for 5 years. That was it. I went back to off-Broadway and unemployment.
So it sounds like he begrudgingly went and did a movie.
Well, and I found this other quote from the same Rolling Stone article where he goes, I never set out to be an actor. I was in the chorus of a musical called Baker Street, and somebody said, down the street they're auditioning for this play, and I went and I got the job. Then I nearly got fired because I didn't know what I was doing, but I kept that job, and then I got a job in a movie. It's all a little bit accidental. So I thought I remember him saying that he didn't like his performance in this movie. Don't have that quote written down, but he just didn't like what he did,
right? And
he decided that he didn't want to do another movie for a while, and maybe just go back,
do some plays,
brush up some more, I guess.
And it's interesting because Lumet, like I was saying, he was an actor's director. He really enjoyed doing plays, and he came from a Broadway background. So I would hope that Walken, I don't know, maybe learned something or took something away from the experience. But
yeah,
we don't know until we have him on the show to explain this whole thing. I mean, he maybe had a handful of lines,
right? And when you think about all these heist movies that you may be familiar with, like Ocean's 11 or like Inception is pretty much a heist movie.
Right.
All the characters, they kind of stick out. They're maybe a little broad, a little comic booky, and you remember each of them for their little quirks and idiosyncrasies. And in this one, it's hard to describe Walken's character. You could say he's a young, naive guy.
I'm not really sure. He had like one little moment in there when Connery, he's getting the crew together and he's working for the mob at one point. The mob's like, bring in this one guy. Okay, he's going to work on your crew, but I want you to kill him because we don't like him anymore. So in typical Sidney Lumet fashion, you have the main character who's faced with this kind of moral quandary. How am I going to do this? This is right. Is this wrong? How is it going to weigh on me? And so Connery's explaining it to the rest of the crew. I got to kill this guy. So Walken, fresh face, is like, I think his character went to jail for drugs or something like that. He's like, I didn't get into this for violence, man. He seemed like had this, hey man, I didn't get in this for violence. And then, he kind of said, if that's what you got to do, then that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And that was
it.
That was kind of it. And it brings me back to what I was saying earlier about all these actors. There's so many little people in this movie, so many small roles. Because essentially Connery robs this really fancy apartment building. Yeah. And he goes to each individual apartment because they all have something really expensive that he wants to steal. Each one of those tenants has a little character, has a little
Yep.
a little of this, a little of that. You know, there's a cranky old lady who's got all these millions of one-liners. There's this, I believe, this paraplegic little boy,
Yeah.
who is so fascinated by them. Oh, they're gonna break into my safe. I gotta watch this. You
Yeah.
know? They all have these little moments. Garrett Morris, you know, the poor black police officer
Getting sent to the front lines.
yeah. And then, but Walken, I don't know if he really had a moment like that.
Yeah, and it's down to like we don't know if it's because a moment wasn't written for him, or maybe there was a moment in there that he didn't take advantage of and make a moment.
Right.
Like when you're given material as an actor, and not to say that this is shitty material, but if you get a shitty script, you just do the best job that you can do and try and bring something to it and add something that'll make it interesting. It's something to make you stand out. So yeah, I don't know what it was.
Oh, violence, man. Maybe that's what you're into. That's okay. I wouldn't do that myself.
So what would you say is probably maybe your favorite thing that he did, or favorite part about his role in this movie, if you have one?
I really don't. I mean, I liked him in the movie. I thought he was, he's part of the crew.
Right.
But again, it's hard to nail down something specific because it was kind of one note.
It really was. He didn't really have much. I don't know if he had much to work with, like you're saying. Huh?
I think it's probably he didn't have a lot to work with, and there wasn't a character there on the page. He was just, we need a young kid safecracker.
And he was bad at his job, apparently. Because even the police were like, this guy was an amateur. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, he was a shitty safecracker.
Right.
And this is based on a novel, by the way. So
yes,
maybe there was more character in the novel.
Right.
I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, there's little flashes of the Walken. It sounded like he was still trying to find his voice, his something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, what's that like for you? You know, you're an actor. You've been on you've done small roles before in movies. How would you approach something like this? You give an example. So, Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star. You were in Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star.
yeah, it was.
Okay, so what was your kind of character in that?
All right, so my character, so the story, if I describe the plot of Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star,
Yes, yeah.
Nick Swardson plays a character named Bucky Larson, who is this very over the top, like, oh, okay, like Minnesota guy with this weird wig and these buck teeth. Oh, okay. And he's like a cartoon character.
Right.
And he's very innocent, and he goes over his friend's house one night and we show him a stag film. And he doesn't know what a stag film is, and we try and teach him how to masturbate because he didn't know how to do that.
Okay.
So, and the comedy ensues.
Right.
And then, but we're watching the porn, and it's an old porn from the 70s, and lo and behold, he sees his parents in the porn. And instead of the usual being grossed out by it, he's amazed that his parents are on screen, on film, like, wow, they're movie stars.
Right.
I want to be a movie star. So then he moves the young, innocent, naive, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid from Minnesota, maybe Minnesota, some around that region,
right,
going to the big city in LA, going to try and make it as a porn actor. And that's the basis for the story. And my character, I was one of the friends, one of three friends that show him the porn film, and we teach him how to masturbate. And my character, I guess specifically, it was written where I just love masturbating. I masturbate all day. If I could remember the monologue I had to give, it goes, geez, I devote every day to the whack. I get in a breakfast flapjack, a nooner, an after lunch, a before lunch pre-nap slap, an after lunch post traffic jam slam, a pre-dinner spinner, an after dinner dink, a dog walk leash pull, and then I round it out with a midnight snack whack if my folks are asleep. So
you're just a chronic masturbator.
Yeah, and my character was just a chronic masturbator.
Right.
Very over the top. They really stressed the accent. But then there was
This should be good.
There's a moment later where it's written in a script where, okay, so we see his parents come on the screen. We're all watching the film together. And I start to masturbate like under my sweatpants.
Right.
And I guess you think there are two ways to do that. You do it like comically, like I have to do it, and then say a line about his parents, like, and the line is, "That's pretty dang cool, Bucky." And I guess there are two ways to do it.
Right.
And I think I chose the incorrect way. What I think the correct way might have been, I'm masturbating like it's nothing, like, "Hey, it's pretty dang cool, Bucky," and I'm just there masturbating.
Right.
But I did it like very lecherous, like I'm so, thank God I get to finally see his parents fuck, because I've been thinking about this for years. This is like one of my dreams come true. His mom is so fucking sexy, and I said it kind of like this: "I think that's pretty dang cool, Bucky." Like, really. And then there was a deleted scene where we all get up, he leaves, and like, "Do you mind if we all finish?" And he goes, "No, it's fine." And we all stand up and pull our pants down. There's a shot from behind of just all our asses, and we're all just jerking off in a circle jerk. And it ends with me reaching slowly to stick my finger at my own ass.
Right. Did you make that decision, or did they say?
They told me that, because I make a comment like, "No, you in the middle of masturbating, you need to press your dirt button." So I was about to press my dirt button.
Right. So how'd your parents feel about this role?
I don't know. I think they thought it was pretty dumb, and I went to go see it with Shayna, and we walked out halfway through the movie. And we went to go see Contagion instead.
No, that's not. How was that? That wasn't much better.
That was much better.
Oh, okay, all right.
But anyway, I guess, how would I approach this role?
Sure, like yeah. How would you have approached this role? Because this is an interesting role. There's not much to it, so you could be as flexible as you want.
Right.
It's just he's a kid.
Then
fresh out of prison.
I think I would have played up the naivete. Mm-hmm. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sure, why not? And I would have been more nervous, like really eager to please this Sean Connery character who I might see as a role model, because he's told me stories about him safe cracking, and wow, you led this amazing life. Mm-hmm. And that way, when Christopher Walken's character dies in the end, maybe there would be more, you would feel more for him, like, oh, he was just this kid and he got caught up in all this.
Right.
If I guess that's what I would do. I think it would make it stronger. I didn't see it. And look, Christopher Walken is an amazing actor, but there weren't any strong decisions that made me feel for his character. He was just kind of there, and he was serving the material, but there was nothing huge.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's initially what it's going to be. These first couple of projects we watch. Mm-hmm. There's not much. There's not much to go on. There's not much to experience. Walken is still finding his voice. Yeah. Which is nice, because we're still finding our voices as well. We're walking right with them.
I hate you.
Yeah. That was good.
That was all right. That was all right.
There's so many puns.
So many puns
we can do with this name. Speaking of which.
Okay.
We do have a new intro song.
Okay.
I believe it's been played on the past couple episodes, but some of the movies. What are some of the lines and some of the movies that are in that intro, if you remember off the top of your head?
The first one is, "You're a cantaloupe," and that's True Romance. And then the second one is, "He wore this watch up his ass," and that's Pulp Fiction. And then we got, let's see, some other ones.
Googly Eyes.
I think it's my favorite Christopher Walken SNL sketch, where he puts googly eyes on plants because he needs to make eye contact with them because he's scared of plants.
Yeah.
And I threw in Peter Pan has found a mother.
That's
from Peter Pan Live,
right?
Which I love.
And the last one was the ice is gonna
break. That's from The Dead Zone. I guess it's maybe his most known line from that movie.
Right.
Oh, there is one from Wayne's World 2. I always thought was funny, where he plays the villain in that movie.
Yeah.
And they're doing that bit where Garth is like, "A sphincter says what?" Christopher Walken's like just staring at him. And Garth repeats it. "A sphincter says what?" He goes, "You want me to say what?" Like I don't get it. Is that it?
Oh, man.
So I don't know. I was trying to find ones, and I didn't include any from like The Deer Hunter because I haven't seen it. I'm sure there's a good one in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we retool it later on.
Right.
Who knows?
Oh, we'll keep growing on this. We've had a bunch of good ideas to do with this podcast. Okay, so I believe we covered all the major things in the Anderson tapes. In the end, Walken dies. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
Dies.
If
He tries to escape with the loot, and he tips the truck over. It's actually a pretty amazing stunt.
Yeah.
And then he's dead.
He's just instantly dead. And
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Then he quit doing movies 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm out.
if you're looking at his IMDb page, there is another movie after this, like a year later, but you could argue that he probably filmed that maybe before this movie.
Okay.
Because if he says he didn't do another movie for 5 years, I think I probably believe him
Right.
over IMDb. But yeah, I guess he just... The next movie I think he's talking about that he did 5 years later was probably Next Stop Greenwich Village, where that's not going to be the next one we watch.
No.
A quick, I was thinking when we're talking about his movies, just for future episodes, I really want to include facts about these movies or anything he said on record, but when they're kind of sparse,
Right.
I figured it might be fun to share a few random Christopher Walken facts because we're slowly learning about him.
Yeah.
And whenever I see something interesting in an interview or something, I'll just put it aside. So fun fact about Christopher Walken that I think is interesting. He did at least, and this is according to his interview in Rolling Stone magazine earlier this year in May, he did at least 60 plays before his film career took off.
Wow.
Which I think, I've already talked about this on a couple of my No Small Parts episodes, I think, but with we can't see that. There's you look on IMDb, you can't see the 60 credits, all of his Shakespeare plays that he's done, and it's really like the tip of an iceberg. The stuff that we've seen, and he continued to do theater, I'm pretty sure, for most of his career.
Yeah.
Maybe when he really got heavy into movies in the 80s and 90s, not as much, but we only see this tip of the iceberg, and there's so many other things that we haven't seen. Like my acting teacher in LA said that he got to see Christopher Walken play Hamlet, and I said, "What was that like?" And all he said was, "Fascinating," and he didn't go into detail.
What year was that? Do you know?
It must have been early 70s. Because that's when my acting teacher was knocking around New York at the same time, I think. Early 70s, late 60s maybe, but probably early 70s.
That sums up Walken pretty well.
Yeah, just fascinating.
Yeah. Another interesting little tidbit about the Anderson tapes, Quincy Jones.
Yeah, Quincy Jones did the music.
And it was good because every time the caper part would come in, you'd have that, that drive-in jazz music.
Yeah, no, I had to ask you who Quincy Jones was. Who's Quincy Jones?
Quincy Jones, okay, he's pretty much like the Grammy Award-winning, amazing producer who's done all the major Michael Jackson. That's what he's kind of known for.
Okay.
Thriller, Bad. He was the producer for those things. He did a lot of music for the movies as well. He's just like the one of the big time producers of music. He did this, right, and it was weird because this is I don't know, one of the first movies to really play into the whole wiretapping things. There's been movies before, but the wiretapping surveillance had a major theme in this movie. So it's parts where there had these really weird computer sounding effects. This is what a computer would sound like. It was so weird. But then once the caper part came in, you got that classic jazz. Yeah, and all right, yeah, and that's kind of very Shaft-esque, maybe, I don't know,
a little bit, yeah.
But and I always wondered. So you had Lumet, and he did all these realistic, gritty kind of dramas and stuff like that, and then he did The Wiz, and I always wondered how did that come apart? And now The Wiz too had a real grittiness to it, I guess, right? It was kind of I
don't know. The one thing I remember vividly from it, because I watched it when I was a kid, and there was a part that really scared me when they're in a parking garage and all these pillars come at them, or these machines are gonna eat them all or something. I don't know.
So maybe this is how the connection was made, because Quincy, of course, was big figure in Michael Jackson's life.
Right.
You know,
And he just said, "You can get my buddy Lumet. He can do this.
He'll direct the movie." I have no clue. But Lumet did a lot of Broadway stuff too, so that kind of played
Yeah,
in,
that makes sense.
But
Sidney Lumet seems like one of these directors that, like he's known for maybe these critically acclaimed movies, and then he'll go off and do something like The Wiz, and it's just it's kind of cool. It's kind of like, oh man, who's the director? He did Before Sunrise, Before Sunset. Richard Linklater. Richard Linklater is another guy who's just all over the map with different kinds of movies.
Yeah.
Like he's known for these critically acclaimed things, and then he'll do like the remake of Bad News Bears because he just
that's right.
Yeah, because it's another fun project, like whatever he wants to do, and then he'll shoot a short film every year and then turn it into Boyhood. He's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Any other interesting tidbit? Apparently, I didn't know this, but Connery worked with Lumet in 5 movies total. Like, he loved him.
Wow.
He said Sean Connery said Lumet was one of his favorite directors. So, just goes to show, he's a good director. A lot of people I don't think they give him enough consideration. I don't think they give him enough credit. Mm-hmm. He's one of the major directors back in the day and throughout cinema's history.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. At the end of Walken's career, he can say, I was directed by Sidney Lumet. I was directed by Coppola, by Spielberg, by all the major directors in cinema's history. I think everybody. He's been in everybody's film. Yeah,
probably. If you go through his IMDb, you find plenty of iconic producers, directors.
So next movie we're gonna watch. What's up next?
All right. Well, this one sounds interesting. This is. It looks like it's sort of become a little bit of a cult classic. And it says this was released in 1972, so I think Walken might have done this before the Anderson tapes.
Okay.
The official title on IMDb is called The Happiness Cage, but there's an alternate title called The Mind Snatchers, and looks to be a dramatic sci-fi. Here's the plot. A German scientist works on a way of quelling overly aggressive soldiers by developing implants that directly stimulate the pleasure centers of the brain. And if you look at the poster, Christopher Walken was not a star at this time. So I think that this poster was created after Christopher Walken got famous.
Yep.
I'm looking at the poster here, and it's just big letters, Christopher Walken, there's his face. With some kind of, you're looking at it right now. Yep. There's a big brain, there's some faces, some zaps coming out of the brain.
So was he the star of this film?
He's the top billed. It looks,
but who knows when that was made? That could have been.
Yeah, it's kind of like Danny Trejo being in a movie for 5 minutes, and then him putting on the cover. Putting him on the cover.
Way to sell this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So next one. The Happiness Cage, or what was the other title?
The Mind Snatchers.
I like The Mind Snatchers.
Yeah, that's a grabbier title.
That's a good one. It snatches you.
Yeah.
All right. So that concludes episode 4. Mm-hmm. 4. We're coming along here. We got to start doing. What are we going to do with this next? We got to do something.
What are we going to do?
We made the intro song.
Yeah.
We're working on a cool little cover art.
Mm-hmm. We're trying to make kind of a logo for it.
It's good. I like it. We can do a lot of fun things with it. Walken has that face that, like, when you see it, you know exactly who it is. Like, Walken. With his googly eyes.
Yeah, his dead fish eyes.
Dead fish eyes. Dead fish eyes. So, yeah, what are we going to... What's next? What's next?
What's next is episode 5. I don't.
Yeah, but what's next for the podcast? What are we gonna do? What's our next thing that we're gonna build to? We gotta start thinking here. This could be major. This could be major.
Well, I guess right now this is the 4th episode we've made. We haven't launched anything yet.
We're
gonna do that
as of this recording.
And I guess we're going to just try and slowly build our audience. We would love to get to a point. I know other podcasts do this where they do live shows or something.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun. Maybe down the line if we get enough people interested.
We could watch the movie together with the audience and then right afterwards record it, take questions from the audience and get their opinions.
Yeah.
That would be fun. But, this is all down the line.
It's down the line. Sponsors, hopefully, tudao.com.
Tudao. I'm really going to work them over.
You're going to work them over?
I really want Tudao.
Do you speak Mandarin?
No, but I have Google Translator. That's the same thing.
That's the same thing.
Okay. That's not bad.
All
right.
I guess we're just going to keep going.
We're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going. This movie wasn't I enjoyed this movie. Was it the best? Mm-hmm. No. It definitely was not anybody's best movie. But I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. I like movies of that era. Some of the other ones were, Hawaii Five-0. Hey, I watched it. I can say that. I watched an episode of Hawaii Five-0.
Yep.
Me and my brother.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to top.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to top. I'm looking down the line and I see other things. What was one that really stuck out to me? I believe it was, hold on one second. Was it The Perverter 2?
What? How far ahead is
No,
this?
sorry. Privateer 2, The Darkening. I thought it was The Perverter. I was like, what?
The Privateer 2, The Darkening?
It's a video game.
Oh, yeah. There are a couple video games on there. I think there's True Crime Streets of L.A.
How are we going to do that? Can we
guess
just watch the scenes? We could
find them on YouTube.
I'm not going to play the game.
Yeah? You don't want to play the game?
It was from 1996.
You know what we can do?
I don't even know what this is for. Clive Owen is in it.
I've had actors who have been in video games before. You go on YouTube and someone has uploaded an entire playthrough of a video game, even really obscure ones from like the mid 90s. Like there was one, it looked like a really awful video game adaptation of Blade Runner, but it was a different Blade Runner story. And Vincent Schiavelli played a character in it that was just a shopkeeper in one shop early on in the game.
I'm looking forward to All American Murder.
What's that?
Remember, I posted the clip.
Oh yeah, we saw this clip from All American Murder. It was amazing.
Ridiculous. The way that he read the line. Hey, what are all these people doing here? Move all these people.
Hey,
back.
Go home.
Hey, what are you doing?
Go home. Watch television. He's like the negotiator, the expert negotiator coming in to negotiate the...
God, it was good. I can't wait for those movies.
Yeah, where this is like during peak Walken.
He's coasting at that point.
Yeah. He's coasting.
Gigli,
yeah.
Kangaroo Jack.
Oh, that's gonna be tough.
Man.
And you know what? I'm also looking forward to, there are 3 movies on there that it's like a trilogy. And it's him and I want to say Laura Linney, but it looks like a period drama. Mm-hmm. In fact, let me go through the list real quick and try and find it. But it looks like they were all TV movies for Hallmark, and they've gotten amazing reviews. Like
really?
Sarah Plain and Tall, that's what it is. And there's a whole trilogy. You find them on DVD. Oh no, it's him and Glenn Close.
Oh, that should be good.
And the plot is a single New England woman responds to an advertisement by a Midwestern widower in which he asks for a bride to help him raise his 2 children. And it sounds like regular Hallmark fare, but everywhere I looked when I was looking this up, it's just, everyone said it's amazing. And it sounds like a fun, just normal role for Christopher Walken. That's what makes it more interesting to me, is that he's just a regular seems like a regular Joe Schmo character in a romance. So,
and don't forget, we have to find the movie, the 1956 short film, The Boy Who Saw Through, right?
Yeah.
The Boy Who Saw Through the Walls.
The Boy Who Saw Through. We need to find that. It's, again, that is at Yale University, behind a stone slab door.
We have to enter like a certain combination to get in, and someone has to monitor us the whole time we're there.
We need to bring a weighted bag of dirt to replace it on the weighted slab.
And this was when he was still Ronnie Walken.
Yep, he was still Ronnie.
Wasn't Christopher yet.
Yep.
He hadn't assumed that identity.
He was still in his pupa stage.
Christopher Walken is just the giant character that Ronnie Walken created at the age of 12 or whatever.
That's true. Yeah, it's just regular old Ronnie.
All right. That concludes episode 4. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Feeling good.
Thanks for walking with us.
As always.
All right, that about does it for this episode. A very special thank you to Render Perfect Productions for lending us some basic equipment to make and record this podcast. Here's a little plug for them. Render Perfect Productions is an award-winning Baltimore-based video production and video marketing agency specializing in creating engaging visual content and interactive user experiences. For more info, go to myrender.com, kind of like our first official sponsor for the show. And speaking of which, if you want to help Brandon and I continue making this podcast, please visit our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/walkin101. We got a lot of great rewards, and anything you can help contribute to the show would greatly be appreciated. And you like this song in the background we use? This is by David Sestay. And if you want, check out more of his music on freemusicarchive.org. And finally, make sure you check out our website, Walkin101, for more info and updates. And subscribe to us on iTunes. Yes, iTunes. They actually let us put this podcast on iTunes somehow. And as always, thanks for walking with us.
America, man, you know, it's so beautiful. I want to eat it.